Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to welcome all members and guests to the September 4th, 2024 Public Hearing Committee meeting, and I'd like to remind everyone that our meetings are web streamed and televised, so if you could take a moment to ensure your phones are on silent, that would be appreciated. And if you are attending virtually, please keep yourself muted, raise your Teams raise hand feature icon to be called upon, and remember to turn on your camera and unmute yourself. With that, I call the September 4th Public Hearing Committee meeting of 2024 to order. And note that all members of council are present and in attendance today. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. We'll move along to the agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Brunton, seconded by Councillor Huffman. All in favor? That is carried. I will now officially open the public meetings held under the Municipal Act, the Planning Act, and Norfolk County Policy. Please be advised that under the Ontario Planning Act as amended by the province, only specified persons and public bodies as defined in the Planning Act may appeal a decision of Norfolk County to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Third parties or anyone who is not a specified person or public body do not have the right to appeal a decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, to preserve the ability to appear to any appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal, third parties or general members of the public are required to make comments or provide written submission. These meetings are hosted today to allow oral and written comments as input and decisions on specific development applications. So the first item on our agenda is 4.1, which is 19 North Street, Cortland, Report CD 24102. Mr. Sloan?
Good afternoon and thank you. We do have a number of development files lined up for you today, and I believe that Mr. Serra is online and he's going to introduce the first one from Cortland, so I'll turn it over to Fabian.
Hi there, just want to make sure everyone can hear me loud and clearly.
Yes, we can, thanks.
Okay, awesome, nice. Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So this application is for a draft plan of subdivision to construct a total of 12 semi-detached dwelling units for a total of 24 residential dwelling units. Next slide, please. So a little site context, the property is located at 19 North Street in Cortland, and it's approximately 1.6 hectares or 3.95 acres in size, and is located between Highway 58 and Talbot Street, the intersecting North Street in Cortland. For clarity, the property does not consist of the antique market and is currently vacant. Next slide, please. So the site is designated urban residential and is zoned hamlet residential with a holding provision and special provision 14.1047 on the subject property. The bylaw was associated to this project was bylaw 2416 through zoning amendment ZNPL 2023-374 that was approved through council in February earlier this year. And that bylaw has been attached as attachment D. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, the development application seeks to approve a draft plan of subdivision to construct a total of 12 semi-detached dwelling units for a total of 24 residential units. Next slide, please. As a part of their complete application, a plan justification report, a traffic impact brief, a geotechnical report, functional servicing report, record of site condition, as well as a site plan drawing was provided as a part of their application. Comments of interest have been received from engineering in regards to the proposed road widening and road allowance and existing utilities, the main drain and stormwater management, geotechnical conditions as well. Attachment C contains the wholesome agency technical comments that were received for this project. And at the time of preparing the public hearing materials, there had been no public input received at this time. Since then, I have received public input via phone calls in which the general concerns tend to stem around the drainage as well as the access to the municipal drain and making sure that their concerns about the drain are considered. Next slide, please. So the preliminary considerations at this time relate to the need for additional housing in urban areas, parking requirements and servicing. And the next steps for this project to conclude, next slide please, is the proposal again is for a draft plan of subdivision in 19 North Street located in Cortland to develop 12 semi-detached dwellings for a total of 24 units. Staff recommend that the staff report CD 24-102 for this development application be received for information, and that any comments received at this meeting will be considered as a part of the decision in the future recommendation staff report. Thank you. That concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Columbus?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In addition to the drainage issue, I've had some communications from residents in that area with respect to septic approvals, and I noticed that the technical report indicates it is noted that the hydrological studies in the Cortland area have been determined that tertiary septic treatment is required in order to address the issue of nitrate loading. It is foreseeable that tertiary septic treatment will be required here and may be challenged by the current size of the proposed lots. So at the last time this came up at a meeting here, public hearing committee, I questioned that as well about the size of these lots and can they safely and effectively carry the sewage load, even though it's a tertiary system. Because the way it's worded here, it seems like it's still a major issue. I'd like a comment on that, please.
Yep. So with that, staff have made the applicant aware that we require a hydrogeological study to be submitted, recognizing it wasn't submitted as a part of a complete application. So that component is being conditioned that they also need to provide that documentation in order to determine that, in fact, yes, the lot sizes can be supported.
So really, the lot sizes, once we pass this, the lot sizes cannot be made any larger, I take it. So what would the remedy be if there is a issue with the hydrological study?
Through Madam Chair, I would probably answer this question. So that hydrogeological study engineering also asks for a D54 guidelines analysis, that is through the guidelines of the province. As Fabian mentioned, we'll review those during this review process. This is just a public hearing meeting. We have to complete the review. In case of any issues find out, then the applicant have to answer these questions. The zoning already been approved. That means the lot size will be unchanged, but definitely it has to be resolved through some technical solution.
Thank you to the planning staff.
Just to be clear, Fabian, your comments were that it's a required condition for them to meet? Okay.
Sorry.
Did you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. As well as I've had a couple of questions about and I just like a clarification on it. I know it can't happen, but they're thinking that because there's the municipal drain that runs through that area, which is the Purdy drain, I think, that a septic would go into that, and it wouldn't. Like they think that the drain runs there and that you could put a septic tank on it. It does not. That I just want that cleared up. Those are questions that I'm getting.
Through Madam Mayor, yes, definitely the septic system and the drainage service would be separate, and there will be some setback requirements as well. So it will not be intervene to each other.
Perfect. And also, just to clarify, it's between Highway 59 and Talbot Street, correct? Just want to make sure that that's well understood.
Correct.
Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I read in the water pressure is adequate for the development, but not for fire protection, or it's below the standard for fire protection. I guess my question is, did we not deal with another multiple unit subdivision further to the west not that long ago, and will that impact both? Like if there's more residential brought on stream, is that going to further make the fire protection a problem? I guess that's a question maybe to Andrew or somebody.
Through the chair, I might just take a minute to introduce. We have Jacob Columbus with us as well today. So Darnell is usually here as our Director of Engineering. He is away on some personal matters for the next little while. So Jacob is our new project manager of our development engineering team. So he's here today to help. As it relates to the fire flow requirements, it is something that we'll continue to look at. Just a reminder to council, I'm hoping that we will have our new report in front of you for October CIC, and that will be adopting our new fire flow requirements. And we will likely see a pretty significant reduction in requirements that need to be achieved by our developers. So I think a lot of this may become irrelevant as we adopt our new standard. But in the interim, until that is approved, we do have to monitor each one of these individually. And yes, more homes added on the system will certainly put more pressure on a fire system that is already challenged to meet its needs.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, is there anyone here at council chambers that wishes to speak to this report? Is there anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this report?
Thank you. It's Bob Phillips from Cahoon Engineering. We've received the preliminary information on this application, and obviously we'll deal with the comments going forward before the application comes before council for full approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else on the line? And final call, in person or on the line. Okay, with that, back over to council. Is there someone who wishes to move staff recommendation to receive the report as information? Moved by Councillor Vanadrisi, seconded by Councillor Michelli. All in favor? That is carried. The next item is item 4.2, 42 Mechanic Street, CD 24090, Mr. Sloan.
Thanks, and I believe that Mr. Sayre is going to step in and assist on this one for Miss in lieu of Miss Martin. So I'll turn it over to Fabian for the rezoning in Waterford, please.
Yep. Thank you, Brandon. Through you, the chair. So this application seeks to rezone a portion of the property. Seeks to rezone the.
I'm not sure if you can hear us, but I think we lost you here for a moment.
Sorry, I just got, hold on, we are getting me back into the meeting, so I just want to make sure everyone heard what I said there.
No, you cut out, so if you could start from the beginning again, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah, no worries, sorry. So this application seeks to rezone the subject lands and add a special provision to facilitate the severance of the lot in order to construct 2 semi-detached dwellings for a total of 4 dwelling units. Next slide, please. So the property is located at 42 Mechanic Street West in Waterford. It is a corner lot and is approximately just under 500 square meters in area, with a frontage directly onto Mechanic Street West and Shadow Lake Lane. The proposed currently contains a single detached dwelling and shed that are proposed to be demolished. Next slide, please. The site is primarily zoned urban residential R1 and designated as urban residential with a small portion zoned and designated as hazard land. Next slide, please. This application seeks to rezone the portion of the property zoned R1A to R2 with the addition of a special provision to permit a reduced exterior side yard setback in order to facilitate the severance of the lands in order to construct the 2 semi-detached dwellings. For clarity, the exterior side yard for this lot is the portion of the property fronting directly onto Mechanic Street West. Next slide, please. A traffic impact brief, a functional surfacing report, a grading and siltation and erosion control plan, and a servicing plan was provided as part of the complete application. Comments of interest have been received from zoning, specifically that the parking space in the garage in the concept plans provided is currently deficient in size, so they will have to adjust the interior of the building to basically make the parking space meet the required size. So that doesn't need to be captured in the zoning bylaw amendment at this time, recognizing that it was a comment of for future consideration that they will have to change the interior space to make it appropriately sized for the parking space. So since the preparation of these public hearing materials, public input has been received and has been included in attachment D of the report. Preliminary considerations at this time relate to the need for additional housing in urban areas and parking requirements. In conclusion, the proposal is for rezoning of a portion of the subject lands and a special provision to facilitate the reduced exterior side yard setback for the future severance of the lands and to construct 2 semi-detached dwellings for a total of 4 units. Staff recommends that this application be received for information and that any comments received will be considered as a part of the future recommendation report. That concludes staff's presentation.
Okay, thank you. Questions from council? Seeing none, is there anyone here in council chambers that wishes to speak to this report? Anyone on the line that wishes to speak to this report? Okay, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder for staff's recommendation. Moved by Councillor Columbus, seconded by Councillor Huffman. All in favor? That is carried. And just a reminder, if you're tuning in virtually, to keep yourself muted, please. Got a couple individuals online who are not muted. Thanks, Casey. Item 4.3, 43 Albert Street, CD 24106.
Thanks, and I believe Mr. Sarah's going to keep on rolling here with this one in Langton. Fabian?
Just a second here, Fabian. We had to mute everyone, and so we can't hear you at the moment. Try now.
Oh.
Perfect. Take it away. No, we can't hear anything.
Madam Mayor, I apologize, but are you asking me to
Yeah,
do the presentation for full?
Yes.
Sorry,
please.
I couldn't, I missed that, the computer cut out. I couldn't hear the whole introduction component. I apologize on that front.
No, no worries. Please
so
go
with
ahead
that,
whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you. Through the chair. So this application seeks to rezone a portion of the property to facilitate the creation of a new residential lot. The approval of the zoning bylaw amendment would comply with the official plan land use designation and does not require any site-specific special provisions that can be done through delegated authority by the director of the planning or designate. Next slide, please. So with this property it's located at 43 Albert Street in the geographic township of North Walsingham. It's approximately 36 hectares in size and fronts directly onto Albert Street. And the property contains an existing single detached dwelling, garage, and several farm buildings. Next slide, please. So the property is zoned as agricultural, but is designated as both agricultural and hamlet under the official plan. And the lands proposed to be rezoned are located within the hamlet designation. Therefore, next slide. This application seeks to rezone a portion of the lands within the hamlet official plan designation from agricultural to hamlet designation to facilitate the future severance of a lot. The severed lot would contain the existing dwelling, the existing garage, and a shed with the farm buildings remaining on the retained lands. Next slide, please. A hydrogeological assessment and existing on-site sewage system on-site sewage system evaluation form was included as a part of the complete application, and no technical or public comments have been received for this application. Preliminary considerations at this time relate to housing, servicing, and agricultural, and the rezoning of the subject lands will facilitate the creation of a new residential lot within the hamlet designation. The future lot would be serviced via private septic and well systems, and the remaining lands that are not part of this application would remain as agricultural with separate access. So as this application seeks to achieve a official plan and zoning conformity, the proposal, so staff would recommend that staff report 24106, that development application ZMPL 2024-185 be received for information, and that any comments received as a part of the decision process, and that the decision for this application be made by the Director of Planning or the designate through delegated approval as per bylaw 2022-106. So I apologize if one thing that I think needs to be clear is that via that bylaw, the bylaw 2022-106, staff have the ability to do delegated approval. Because this is a conformity exercise, this project would qualify under the delegated approval that could be approved via the director or other staff delegate. That concludes staff's presentation at this time.
Thanks very much. So is that to say that it won't return to another council meeting? You're just having the public hearing meeting on it?
That's correct.
Nope, that's fine.
But I'll ask, I'd have to ask my superiors, because I believe this is the first one, so a little unclear on that as well. But I believe that's the case.
Madam Mayor, yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. Okay, perfect. Yeah, too bad they weren't all that easy. Farm severances, not all of them. Questions from council? Just to be clear, what is the size, out of curiosity, on the parcel that's getting severed off? So it's 36, the whole thing is 36 hectares.
Through Madam Mayor, this would be zoned Hamlet residential, so it will comply with the requirement of Hamlet residential, which is, I think, 1 hectare.
1 hectare?
Yes.
Okay. So eventually when they go down the road to apply and do the severance, it's saving, 80 acres of farmland by allowing it, by having this small housekeeping provision. They're able to sever 1 house, save the farmland. Yeah, it's too bad they weren't all that easy. Okay, thank you for that context. Did I ask if there are questions from council? Seeing none. Does anyone wish to speak to this in the room? Anyone on the line? David, you are muted.
No, you muted and unmuted yourself, David.
Try again there, David. You're still muted. Okay, I think it's on our end. I see you've unmuted yourself, but we still can't hear you. Just give us a moment, please. Try again. Nope. Yeah, David, why don't you try to log out and log back in? We'll hang tight here just for a moment. We'll see if it's on our end, but go ahead. No. Do you have any comments you want to add into the chat? We can't hear you, David. So if you have any comments you'd like to add into the chat, or we can try and have him call in. Is there, on the Teams link, is there a telephone number? We're going to troubleshoot. David, we'll have Councillor Columbus give you a call, and then we will play you through the microphones here.
A voicemail box of 9998.
Do you have any comments you want to try to put in the chat, David?
Pardon me? Well, I'm trying again.
Hello. Yeah,
D-
okay.
Dave, Mike here.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, you're on speakerphone and you're on everything here.
Okay. I had sent an email. I reviewed the proposed bylaw, and I had sent an email to Mohammed yesterday, actually. The proposed lot is going to be 2,587 square meters. So it's deficient in lot area. It doesn't meet the 4,000 or 1 acre. We had submitted a Hydro G report which supported the application. So the amending bylaw will have to recognize that the lot will be that 2,587 square meters in lot area.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay?
That's helpful. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Dave.
Bye-bye.
Is there anyone else on the line that wishes to speak to this report? All right, I'm looking for a mover and a seconder, and staff, you've reflected those comments. Go ahead.
So, Madam Mayor, yes, I see an email sent by David yesterday. So that is actually a request of reduction of the lot size. So that needs to be incorporated through a special provision. So if in that case, I believe we'd probably not be able to delegate it. It has to come to the council.
Okay, and then that's going to require another public meeting because that wasn't advertised?
I'm not sure if we require any
Same location, just a
public hearing,
reduction?
but we do need a council meeting to get the approval. But I mean, this is an amendment can happen, I mean, without a public hearing, I think.
Okay, Mr. Rowe, the amendment to the lot size requires a council decision. It's not delegated. If you stay with the current staff report, we can delegate this through to staff and it doesn't need to return to council. So you are choosing to go with your amended lot size and have a report returned to council? He's nodding yes on the public record. Everyone sees that? Okay. Mover and a seconder to receive it as information. Moved by Councillor Van Andriesch, seconded by Councillor Breton. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Mr. Rowe. Bye. Item 4.4, 1295, 12th concession. Councillor Van Passen.
Yeah, I just want to point, this is one of these weird little anomalies. If this was going through as a surplus farm dwelling, you only need a half an acre in an ag zone, but in a hamlet zone, you need the full acre. Doesn't make sense. We should get those lined up because the less land that you take out, and if it meets all the criteria and you can fit your well, your septic, we should use as little land as possible. But our rules are not quite in line yet. So.
Through the chair, if it helps, we do have that on our list. Council and the councillor has raised that before about our rural hamlet zoning. So that is on the list for the next time we review the zoning bylaw to look at whether or not the 1 acre could be reduced. There are some reasons why it was 1 acre in the past, but a lot of the existing lot fabric and most of the new proposals are able to justify less. So that is on the list to review next zoning bylaw review.
Wonderful. Thank you. Item 4.4, which is CD 24104.
And thanks. We're going to give Fabian a break, and we'll turn it over to Mr. Wallace to introduce this one. I think it's just east of Langton.
hello. Right. Thank you, Brent. Through the mayor, the land referred to as 1295 12th Concession Road is an approximately 6-acre lot within the agricultural designation and is zoned rural industrial or MR. There's a single-family dwelling on the southwest corner of the lot with an industrial building to the rear, which currently operates as an agricultural machine repair business. You can stay on this slide for the moment. The applicants seek a zoning bylaw amendment to allow for the additional use of the land for farm machinery and equipment manufacturing. Machinery, equipment, and repair machinery or equipment repair is within the zoning provisions, but does not extend to manufacturing. This would require a special provision to allow for this additional use within the rural industrial zone. Next slide, please. The subject lands have been a mix of residential rural for a number of years, rural industrial for a number of years. Beyond the dwelling on the subject lands, there are several dwellings to the southeast side of 12th Concession Road and to the east of the subject lands, which could be impacted by further industrial intensification of the site, including any outdoor storage or fabrication and exterior lighting. There are 4 separate dwellings within 175 meters of the industrial building on the subject lands. It is noted that this proposal would remain subject to site plan and have to go through a new site plan amendment process following any approval of the zoning bylaw amendment. Next slide, please. In terms of the proposed zoning amendment, as previously noted, the subject lands would remain in the rural industrial zone, but with a special provision added to the lands to expand the uses permitted. Next slide, please. The technical comments received prior to the submission of the report to clerks have been provided and are contained within attachment C of your reports pack. By way of an update, additional comments have been received from a few members of the public. I circulated a sheet around to you. You should all have a copy of these comments, which were received yesterday. These comments raise the following concerns: hours of operation in terms of the noise and site lighting, for instance, traffic concerns into and out of the site, what sort of noise would be expected from the site, and will the change to the zoning include sales direct to public? Likely this can be addressed by the applicant's agent in a few moments. Next slide, please. Considerations at this time, fairly basic given the need to support the rural economy whilst also trying to minimize the impact on residential neighbors. And the final slide, please. To conclude, the proposal is for a zoning bylaw amendment to allow the additional use of the land for farm machinery and equipment manufacturing on top of the existing zoning provisions for the rural industrial zone. To conclude, staff recommend that staff report CD 24104 for development application ZNPL 2024176 be received for information, and that any comments received at this meeting shall be considered in the future recommendation staff report. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your report. Questions from council? Councillor Columbus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To Andrew, will there be a site plan control put to this application before it's finalized?
Yes, I believe it's going to have to go through full site plan with an agreement, because the parking numbers with the additional use will change.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Van Andrieschie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. I have a few questions. There's a proposal of buildings in the back. There's a house that's further in the front of this. So I take it that they're going to maintain the large building that's in the center of this property. Do you know that, or?
Through the chair, to my knowledge, there's no physical change to the footprint of the existing building.
Okay. All right. I can understand where there's thoughts that there would be some extra noise. Do you know what other types of equipment they're going to be building there, manufacturing? Do you have any types?
Excuse me, through the chair, I'm hoping that that their agent who is sitting
Okay.
here will be able
So-
to come to that. So,
All right,
yeah.
when the agent comes, I'll have my questions then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, if you'd like to join us, come on up, state your name for the public record.
Mitchell Baker. I'm a planner with Land Pro Planning Solutions. I'm the agent on this application. Firstly, I'd just like to thank staff for preparing the thorough overview of this application. There's several complexities and the new comments from the public that shall be addressed. Firstly, just to reiterate, currently farm machinery and equipment repair shop is permitted on the property. We're simply looking to include the farm machinery, equipment, and assembly or manufacturing. Now, this farm machinery or equipment, there's strictly agricultural trailers to service the surrounding customer base in that largely agricultural area. And then, as I'm here, shall I address some of the concerns in the email in terms of lighting? That will be addressed at site plan. There will be minimal lighting, though. All of the manufacturing and assembly of the trailers will be inside the building. There's strictly just storage of the trailers to the rear of the existing building. Traffic, we have prepared a traffic brief memo that highlights the peak traffic flows in and out of the property. It's anticipated to be minimal and no more than what's existing with the lumber processing facility. The signage, this will be also addressed at site plan stage, however, will be compliant with the signage bylaw as well. And the house at the front of the property, that's to be maintained and remain as a rental, so it will remain on the property. Thank you.
Councillor Vanendrishi.
Again, thank you, Madam Chair, and through you. So what type of machinery, I recognize the trailers, but what other type of machinery are we looking at, if I may ask?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. It's strictly agricultural trailers, things to store and transport hay or straw.
So it's all trailers?
All trailers, yep.
All trailers, oh, that's
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Okay, and you're proposing the storage in the back, and the house in the front stays, and most of the manufacturing would be done in that big building?
Through you, Madam Mayor, all of the manufacturing and assembly will be done within the existing building, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Michele.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the agent. What are going to be the hours of operation? I know that's one of the other concerns that the neighbors have.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I understand that the hours of operation are typical hours of operation, say 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., nothing outside of the ordinary.
Councillor Columbus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you have an indication of how many employees would be located at this manufacturing facility?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I've spoken with the applicant and the owner, and I understand that there to be less than 5 employees on the property. So again, very minimal.
Okay, thanks for answering all those. Just a couple other things that weren't addressed. So some property standards issues. I know that's not related to today's issue, but if the owner's on the line, council would appreciate you taking care of that before a bylaw has to come and visit. And my only question would be the sale of the trailers. So it's not commercially zoned. So is it the intent to have them on display and have increased traffic come in for purchase of them?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't believe that there will be sales directly on the property. It's simply the assembly, and then they have their existing client base within that agricultural area that they'll just kind of ship the trailers to. That there's no sales center there.
Okay, thanks very much. Any other questions? Okay, we appreciate you coming to speak to that, Mitchell. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else that I've missed on the line? Okay, a mover and a seconder from council. Councillor Michele moves, seconded by Councillor Vanendrishi. All in favor? That is carried. And our last item for public hearings is item 4.5, BB Ranch Zoning Bylaw Amendment Report CD 24-113.
So thank you for this final item, which is a bit more of a technical zoning definition item to help implement the condominium. I believe Mr. Alam is going to address it. So Mohammed.
Thanks, Brandon. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and the Council. Through Madam Mayor, this is a zoning bylaw amendment application for 436 Front Road, west of Booths Harbor, known as Baby Ranch. Can you go to the next slide, please? There are a horse ranch, multiple farm buildings, and a single detached dwelling currently occupy this site. The lands are surrounded by natural heritage features to the east and south, agricultural lands to the north and west, and Lake Erie shoreline to the south. Next slide, please. The subject lands are currently designated as agricultural with the site-specific policy 7.2.5.55, which permits multiple farm dwellings and on-farm diversified uses in a condominium environment. The subject lands also zoned as agricultural with the site-specific provision 14.1002, which further provides detailed requirements for this permitted use, which are multiple farm dwellings and on-farm diversified use. This has been approved by the council in 2021. Next slide, please. Through Madam Mayor, the development went through a long way. This is a very unique proposal in a way that the facility allows resort-oriented multiple dwellings in an agricultural land, which is supported by our Lakeshore Special Policy Area Secondary Plan. This application right now that we're presenting today is for a minor change in the definition of the resort-oriented condominium that we defined through the previous zoning bylaw amendment in 2021. In the initial definition of resort-oriented condominium, it says that all of the on-farm diversified uses will be included in the common element of the condominium. When we went through the review of a condominium application earlier this year, the applicant identified that these on-farm diversity uses are technically not feasible to run within a common element because they need an ownership to operate these facilities. As a result, later staff suggested to change the definition of the resort-oriented development to exclude this on-farm diversified use from the common element area. Next slide, please. This change has no impact on the overall development and will facilitate to implement the on-farm diversified use under individual ownership within the same condominium corporation. We received technical comments with no further concerns. No public input is received as of yet. Next slide, please. Staff considered all relevant issues such as any impact of this change to the internal roads, dwellings, the function of the on-farm diversified uses, and remaining agricultural uses during this review. Next slide, please. So our next step is to complete the zoning bylaw amendment as soon as possible to move forward with ongoing site plan and condominium applications. Staff recommends receiving this application for information with any public comments for consideration. And considering the minor nature of this amendment, staff also recommends that the next step goes through the delegated approval by staff to just expedite the other application process. That's all for this one. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
That was going to be my question. So we found an error in the way the language was worded. We've brought it back. We're going to amend that. But then you're able to take the remainder of the application and deal with it from staff? They don't need to come back to council?
That's partially correct. The site plan application will go through now. It will go through the site plan agreement. There is a condominium application in process. So after the site plan is approved, the agreement is done. And we are looking forward to put the condominium application for recommendation to October council meeting.
October council meeting. Okay. Long time coming. Questions from council? None. Anyone here in the public wish to speak to this? Agent, applicant, anyone on the line? Someone move staff recommendation, please. Moved by Councillor Van Passen. Go ahead.
I noticed in the technical comments, Madam Mayor, there were no technical comments, period. But the front road water main comes from Port Rowan to St. Williams along that road. I'm just wondering, how are they going to, what do they have for a water service if this goes ahead? Is there some kind of a communal system out of the lake, or are they going to hook into that water main? How does that work?
Through Madam Mayor, so the current proposal includes private water wells for individual dwellings. There is a connection, water connection for the existing dwelling, which may prevail. We had a discussion with internal staff of other departments as well, and I think that is the approach the applicant took place.
Councilor Michelli?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I have spoken with the applicant about this matter, and he's informed me that each condominium will have a cistern in the garage. That will be their water source.
It's actually an interesting point because, I mean, it's not much different from a trailer park in that they don't own the lands. So I kind of agree with Councilor Brunton. I think that it should be something we're striving to have more users on municipal water. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I guess I know that water line from Port Rowan to St. Williams, if I'm correct, has had problems, but are there any other connections to it between Port Rowan and St. Williams, or is it strictly, how do I put it, a main water line that is for service of St. Williams only? What is the background to that? Do you know? Does anybody know?
Staff?
Sorry, through the chair, I was just trying to find the appropriate layer on my GIS system here. So you're right, that is the connection point between Port Rowan over to the Boose Harbor system. The challenge you have at this property is the way that when that was installed and paid for, it was for the parcels that are there, and there's certain parcels identified able to connect, some that were not able to connect. And in this case, when they go through a change of use, they are no longer permissible to connect based on the agreements that were signed at the time. We do certainly have problems with that system. That is where we find a lot of leaks in our Port Rowan drinking water system, and something that staff are currently trying to address right now, but it is a problem section of pipe for us.
So that line only serves Boose Harbor? Does it service any other part of St. Williams?
Sorry, through the chair, yes, it does through St. Williams and into Boose Harbor as well.
Okay, thank you.
It's interesting, it might be too late for this one, and 5 minutes ago I was just saying, let's hurry up and get this application done for the applicant, but I think we go ahead with that today, but maybe we can get some comments from staff as to why that line wasn't brought up to be used in this particular development, and if there's capital works that should be done because we're doing our leak detection there. Is there something that it was a missed opportunity for this particular development, but we'll be ready for the next one? So if you can include in that final report some context for council on municipal infrastructure. And with that, I had a mover in Councillor Van Passen and a seconder in Councillor Michelli. Councillor Van Passen.
Well, Madam Mayor, thank you. I also think this is, like, we have a sort of a moratorium on the water supply in Port Rowan anyway. I know in Dover, when we had the moratorium on, we used a temporary solution of cisterns until such time as other things came back online. So to get this project moving forward, I think the applicant's made a wise decision. He's found a solution where he can move forward, so let's get the paperwork done and see what happens down the road once we fix all the leaks in Port Rowan and get the service up and get the intake fixed, and we can always maybe hook onto those cisterns or the system later on when we have that infrastructure in place. So, thank you.
Is that the same bylaw, these cisterns? Are they on the same bylaw that the individual would have to come off on a municipal? No, they're not on the same. No, I know, but we can't make someone connect to municipal servicing after the fact, so that's kind of a moot point. We can ask, yep. All right, we have a mover with Councillor Van Passen. We have a seconder with Councillor Michelli. All in favor? It'll be back before council in October. Okay, that is all we have for the public hearing portion of our day. So I'm looking for adjournment from Councillor Huffman at 3:49 p.m., seconded by Councillor Duthie. All in favor? And we will be back at 4:30 sharp for the special council meeting. Thanks.